Hey everybody, I'm Captain. Nope, I'm not. I'm Admiral Tommy Skill. And you are on the lifeboat. You know what? I got a 5x5 from somebody. I'll be honest with you. There you go. Hello, anybody. Demon, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Can I get a 5x5? Miss Sunrise Dawn, good to see you. Glad that you're here. There he is. I'm going to let some more people get here before I start singing to you. We'll let the whole crowd show up, huh? So let me bring you, long time no see, huh, Teresa? We'll get a little, hey, Kelly, good to see you. Crimmy. What am I doing up so late? Well, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I've been ducking back in on the boat. This is our Super Bowl. This is exactly what we talk about all year long, right? And then for 1 month, the rest of the world talks about it as well. Manny Diller, first time, Tommy. Love you, man. Thank you for this. Oh, thank you. It's a very cool thing to say. Welcome to the boat. I don't think I've ever said hello, so welcome. Becca Jean, good to see you. Gigi, what's up? Pajama Pixie, good to see you. Lumen, glad you're here. Chili Phil, hey, it's always an honor, Chili Phil. Sweet Liberty, yeah, this is going to be a good one. We're going to do a little late night boat. Ice Autumn, glad you're here. Kristen Melinda, there you go. Yeah, a little Moss boat. Tell you a little bit about what's been going on too. I don't know if you probably don't look at stuff like we do, right? Obviously, if you have your own channel, you know what analytics are, and even if you don't have a channel, you can figure out by the name what analytics are. But if you're good at looking at them, you can really, you can find out a lot about your channel and by tracking, what people are looking at, how many comments they're leaving, things like that. One of the craziest things has been the steady decline that we've been seeing in subscribers, and everybody's been seeing it. Subscriber counts are off horrendously. Yesterday, we had a spike of about 200 subscribers. I cannot find anywhere in the analytics to explain it. Whenever we get something that big, it's usually because I go on a show or something and a whole new audience sees me and they talk about, me, and they come over to check out the boat or whatever. That's usually 30 or 40 can be an anomaly, whatever. Or if you had a good day, they pushed you real hard on the algo or something. We did have a really good day, but seemed odd. Seemed really odd, but it's man, it's fun to be here. Yesterday we had about 180 or 200 subs that we came up, so we're above 20,000 again, which is really cool. Always exciting to see that. Shannon Smith, good to see you. I mean, honestly, subs, you brag about subs. They don't pay you anything, right? But it's kind of a badge of honor thing. If you get enough of them, you get a silver play button you can hang on your wall, and that's cool. It really is. But with us, what we're trying to do over here is just try to help people get sober. And it doesn't much matter how many people hit the subscribe button if enough people are watching. That's really what we're more concerned about. And it's funny, as you guys all know, I spun out another channel. And over there, in theory, everybody from here who didn't like Reese doesn't go over there. And everybody from Reese's channel that didn't like me don't go over there. And we got about, 2,800 subs or something like that, 2,800 subs. But we average about 3,500 views, which means that there's just a bunch of people over there that don't want to admit it. They're not going to hit that damn subscribe button no matter what. But since you're over here on the boat, do me a favor and check and see if you're subscribed. If you're not, resubscribe, please. All right, hit the bell for notification. We're going to be putting up a lot of content this month. You're going to want people to click, right? This is the month. Misha, good to see you. West Coast, Fancy Nancy, Sandy Wandy, glad you're here. Congratulations, Chili Phil. That's awesome. 300, that's good. Jamie Smith, still subbed. Glad to hear it. But always make sure and check. Things have been really screwy lately with that, to be sure. The big red button's been nothing but crazy. Kestrel is still sort of here. Okay, good. Beautiful thing. So let's talk about some stuff. You want to hear something really screwy? There is a drug that is becoming popular in Sierra Leone. You guys may have read about this. They're calling the drug Kush. Now, Kush is a region of the world where really good hash has been grown for a long time, right? The Kush region, it runs from Afghanistan down and through a couple of other regions. But so Kush is a word that comes up a lot in weed, right? Everybody's probably heard of, or purple Kush or orange Kush or whatever. This stuff they're just calling Kush is they take plant matter, so like weed, but instead of keeping the bud or anything else, they take all of it, like stem, stalk, seeds, whatever, and they just grind all that stuff up into a powder. Into that powder, they mix into it some formaldehyde, some fentanyl, and some human remains. Yeah, this is a really nasty drug, and apparently people over there are doing a lot of it. Codeine, there's also codeine in it. Jackson, good to see you. Noise Opera, glad you're here, brother. Yeah, I love you, Flamin' Jackson. DJ Daddy-O, look at you, glad you're here. So that's kind of terrifying. If you've been in this game for any length of time, you probably remember Crocodile. Crocodile, sounds a lot like crocodile, was a drug that was being made with diesel fuel and codeine. And what basically happens is they make a substance that, man, one shot will get you really, really wasted, right? However, there's a lot of real drawbacks. One of them is your skin goes necrotic almost instantly. They said the mortality rate was almost 100%, in the high 90s. It was popular in Russia, correct? And in all of the satellite countries that used to be the stands over there, but it gained a lot of popularity because it was very, very easy to make. Super easy to make. Now, believe it or not, we have found crocodile in the U.S. It was not on the streets. There's nobody out there partying with it. What they found was they raided some storage facilities and found like 50-gallon drums full of everything that you need to make crap loads of crocodile. What's terrifying is if the entire population is strung out on Percocet 30s, fake Percocet 30s, whole country is strung out on fentanyl. If you turn the switch off and say no more fentanyl, I got this crocodile crap, you won't believe the number of people who will buy it and shoot it. You will not believe the number. Even those who know what this stuff is. The drug owns you. It really does. If you're struggling with an opiate, please reach out to us, right? I'd like to do everything that we can to get you off of this stuff before it punches your ticket. 2 milligrams of fentanyl will kill an adult male human. About 60% of the pills coming across the border have more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl in them. This is no longer a time where you can experiment with drugs. Those days are freaking over, man. They are. Sadly, they are. And now what we have on the street, if that wasn't bad enough, right? They are phasing out fentanyl for a new drug. It's not new to us. We've been talking about it here on the Lifeboat for a couple of years now. It is a family of drugs that are fall into what they call the nitazene class, or nitazene, phytonitazene, isonitazene. This stuff is, for all intents and purposes, this is to opiates what crystal meth is to speed, right? Anybody with a decent understanding of like 8th grade chemistry can follow a recipe and make an opiate that's about 50 times stronger than fentanyl. And we need that, don't we? With 60% of the doses out there already deadly, they're going to replace the fentanyl with the iso or the phytonitazines. And the reason they're doing it is nits are cheaper. They're easier to make. You can get the chemicals on this side of the world. We don't have to go to China to get the stuff. They're really cheap chemicals, but you're going to see a bunch of this crap. It's already been found. There's not one state here in the U.S. that they haven't found nits in yet. And now they're mixing that in with xylazine. You've seen the pictures of the people on Kensington out in Pennsylvania, where people look like zombies. They're standing there basically folded over at the waist, not moving. or just sort of like swaying in the breeze, nodding out on their feet. It's the drug xylazine was a benzo style of drug that was used to knock out horses. Equine. It is an equine tranquilizer, not intended to be put into a vein. You stick it into the muscle of a horse. We're not built that way. We are not built that way. We don't have muscle the same way they do. That's why you see these horrific pictures of people who are losing limbs, because this crap gets underneath your skin into the subcutaneous layer and just starts eating your skin like battery acid. Kestrel says xylazine is wicked. Damn straight it is. It's absolutely wicked. Used it on horses. How about that? They say it's great for that. They say it's a very, very effective drug for horses. It's never intended to be given to human beings. And not only are we doing it, we're mixing it with another respiratory depressant. We take the strongest respiratory depressant that money can buy in the opiate family and mix it with the strongest respiratory depressant that money can buy in the tranquilizer category, the benzo category, mix the two of them together, flood the street with it. Watch what happens. When I started the lifeboat, well, I had a partner named Mark Wages. And Mark and I would come on here, and the bullshit that was coming out of the Center for Disease Control sounded something along the lines of, we were losing 110 people a day. Right? That's the numbers that they were spitting out. And Mark and I were going, no, trust me, there's no chance in hell that that's what the numbers are. And we said they're a lot closer to 300, right? They're a lot closer to 300. And then the numbers came out, and we found out that we lost more than 108,000 people to drug overdoses. Guess what? That's more than 300 a day. That is more than 300 a day. And I got news for you. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. We're seeing this stuff get into parts of the country that have never been affected by opiates. Just not been a thing. There's no place anymore. It has been so systematic how they have sent, they call them cells, how they have sent cells everywhere in the U.S. Rural states like Vermont and New Hampshire, places in the Northeast that were untouched for generations. Like hard drugs just didn't touch that part of the world. You know, certainly not heroin or crack or things like that. Those days are over. And not only can you now call dispatch and get drugs brought out to you like this, to your house. You don't have to go anywhere, right? They've got it down to a science. They are like a Fortune 500 company. They really are. They have a solid ass game plan that they run. You get into town, you head right over to the methadone clinic, you start handing your cards out to people in line. If they give you crap here, or if you have you want to try my stuff, call me. First 8 bags are free. They give them 8 bags, that guy's not going back to the methadone clinic. I promise you. And then that gets the ball rolling. Word of mouth takes over, and boom. But they do this everywhere. Didn't matter what state I was in. It was always the exact same thing. You would dial a phone number. A guy would answer the phone and say, all right, here's where you're going. Then he hangs up, calls the guy in the car, and sends him off like a dispatcher. Usually running 3 or 4 cars at any given time. So cars going to all over the city, just dropping off bags of opiates. Now pills, now fentanyl, right? That's the drug supply. They will bring it to your house. Do you know where most children today buy drugs? They buy it on social media. They buy it on Instagram. For real. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. Kids network on those. I have seen Instagram pages, you've probably seen them too, where every single post is about the drugs that they sell. Like they're not hiding. They are as in your face as they can possibly be with what they're selling. Right? Proud of it. Yeah, you can buy drugs there, Shannon. Easy as hell. This is where people buy drugs now. It's not what it used to be. You don't need to know a drug dealer. You can go to Instagram and you can, the guy will, and I promise, you say, well, how is your kid going to find? Because all that needs to happen is one kid from that school to find the Instagram page of the guy they buy from. And then Everybody in the school will have the ability to do that fast. That fast. I'm not playing. That's what we're going to be looking at. Jamie Smith says, I quit smoking cigarettes in 2007. I finally broke down and started vaping a month ago. I'm hooked again. I'm sorry. I really am. I'm sorry. Good news is you've done it once, right? You've done it once. You do it again. Rinse and repeat. It's a bitch. It's not fun to quit. Nicotine sucks. Tough drug to quit. Super tough drug to quit. It doubles your dopamine level every time you smoke a cigarette. That's instant feel better, right? Fastest delivery method in the body is the lungs. Cigarettes are a bitch to quit. Same with vape. If you're breathing it into your lungs, that delivery method makes it super hard, super, super hard to quit. Usually with a drug, if you start feeling bad and you want to double your dopamine, I can start right now, but it's going to take about 10 minutes. With a cigarette, it was done. That first hit goes into your stomach and on the way out, into your lungs rather, and on the way out, you're done. You're already, dopamine times 2. Whatever your dopamine level is, your base level is 6, you're at 12. Your base level is 8, you're at 16. It is your base level times 2. Yeah, I would say it's probably pretty addicting. Lord Kiss Freak, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Lord Kiss Freak. My man, Chris. Happy birthday to you. Lord Kiss Freak has been with the lifeboat for as long as the lifeboat has been the lifeboat, and probably 6 months before that. For real. When it was the Tommy Scoville show, he was here. When we didn't know what the name was going to be, and I was just Tommy Scoville surfing other people's stuff. He was one of the first people to hit subscribe. And I really appreciate him. He's a recovered and rehabilitated drug dealer from north of the border. Really fascinating interview I did with him. Where you'll hear a drug dealer apologize to society. Really floored the world. It was one of the great moments in the history of the lifeboat, to be sure. It was just a really, really good moment. And I'm proud to call him my friend. I really am. Love you, brother. Happy birthday. You were, Miss Sunrise Dawn was typing that before I started singing. Well, I know I keep saying I'm not singing happy birthday to anybody else. That's why I explained what LKF is. He's really a fixture on the lifeboat. Been around a very long time and is really, the guys and gals that were here early on have remained the glue that has hold this together when things want to tear it down. It's those people that never quit. And I love you. I really do. I'm super happy that it's your birthday, and I'm happy that I had a chance to give you a happy birthday. So the drug supply coming across our border is killing us. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse in 2024. During this year, we're probably going to see the fentanyl drugs begin to wean out. Fentanyl, by everything I'm hearing, right? By everything I'm hearing, it's about 35% difference in price. 35% cheaper to put nits into these pills than it is to put fent into these pills. No way are they going to buy fent. No way. This is one of the biggest corporations on earth, right? All of these cartels in business together to push this crap across the border. They're bigger than most of the Fortune 500 companies in how many employees they got, in how much money they're making, right? In just about every metric you could tick off. Product moved, whatever you want to do. These people are moving a crap load of product. Currently, that product says M30 on it. They're counterfeit pills. There have been literally dozens of different kinds of pill press dyes that they have found where pills then had fentanyl in them. They've knocked off things like Tylenol. But the big one is the Percocet 30. And the reason that they're doing it, the reason that that's what they picked is that's what most people were addicted to when we did that knee-jerk reaction here in the United States and said, you're not writing any more scripts for opiates, right? No more helping these people. When that crap happened, most of the people who got kicked to the curb had been taking perk 30s. This is terrifying, isn't it? One says it's now in Australia, but fentanyl deaths aren't being recorded as yet by government bodies. Well, go figure. Last thing in the world they want is for all that to get out. It's, here's what you can do on the next holiday, right? And I don't mean Mother's Day, but the next party holiday, like a 4th of July or like Labor Day weekend or something like that. If you pick 3 big cities, right? Go and look at how many overdose deaths they had in those cities, right? On that over the course of that weekend. Take those cities, add up all those numbers, right? And then figure out what they're claiming the deaths are. They're hiding these numbers. I promise you, they're hiding these numbers. The death rate from this latest scourge, this fentanyl plague, or the zombie drugs, right? The trank. Shannon Smith, it happens. Yeah, it happens, right? But yeah, we're in a situation where the stuff that they've got, the government doesn't want to look like they're doing nothing, which is exactly what they are doing. They are doing nothing to stop the flow of drugs. And if the press were to really cover this every day, like they did during Vietnam, if they did a body count every day of how many people we're losing, the American people would get pissed. Really, because what did we lose in Vietnam? Somebody can look that up for me. I want to say 63,000. If I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's in that ballpark. It's in that range. But we're approaching 1 million deaths since the opioid epidemic started. Right? We're into 900,000 and change. That's terrifying. It's terrifying. Right? We didn't lose that many people in World War II. World War I, Vietnam and Korea, all put together. You are more likely to die from a fentanyl overdose in the United States of America than you are to die any other way. You're more likely to die from a fentanyl overdose than you are to die of cancer. There's something seriously wrong with that. Thank you very much, Shannon Smith. 58,200. That's a month. For real. If they're being honest, they're burying a lot of this. And it's not hard to bury. You understand this? It's not. A person overdoses. They go to the hospital. They're on a machine for 5 days. If a person is found and they overdose and they code out, they're getting put into the system. But a lot of times, the other statistics, they are really doing everything within their power to make sure we don't know how many people are dying. And I'll tell you something else. How many people are shooting each other so that they can fight over who's going to sell fake Percocet 30s on that street corner? Because that's real. That's real. This is a absolute billion-dollar business, right? There are people smoking each other for the rights to sell dope in specific places. The number of people just today who are going to go like this at the steering wheel, right? They're going to nod out on fentanyl or on nits. They're going to nod out behind the wheel. They're going to run into something and it's going to kill them. They're not going to call that a fentanyl death. I promise they're not. Or a guy that nods out, right, and sets his house on fire because he's smoking, right? That's those kinds of deaths, which are always somebody nodding out from the drug. Those deaths don't get brought into the equation. It's awful. It really is. It's awful. I realize this isn't a feel good show, right? It's not. But the largest mental illness that we have in this country, they'll call it an accident, Krista Melinda. They will call it a car wreck. The person will have died in a MVA, right? A motor vehicle accident. It will not be called a drug overdose. But that's what happens, right? The person overdoses, nods out at the wheel, but he dies in a car crash. We were doing the exact opposite, by the way, when that C plus math was going on. If you had it in your body and you died of a motorcycle crash, they were saying you died of the C plus math. When it's in their vested interest to pad the numbers in one direction, they sure as crap will do it. And when it's in their vested interest to shave numbers in another direction, they sure as hell will do it. I think right now they don't want us panicking at just how bad it is. I truly believe that. Mark and I did shows, and I've revisited it since, of they're trying to get a V, right? You know what a V is? You can't say that word or they demonetize your stuff. But it's that thing that they were giving to people, right? You could get a V for the C plus math. They have a polio V. Okay, well, they're trying to make a V that they can inject into people so that when the morphine molecule, no matter how it gets there, right, naturally from an opioid or an opiate, doesn't matter, whatever it is, the morphine molecule gets into your bloodstream, something else attaches to it, right? That's what the V does. The thing that attaches to it makes that too big to now get through the blood-brain barrier, right? Mary Seidler says, in my opinion, it's not nodding, you pass out. Well, most assuredly you pass out. The term nodding is that it's the feeling between losing consciousness and coming back into consciousness. That is what addicts will describe as the nod. And when you see people do it, what you're watching them do is literally go unconscious, and then the fall forward or whatever sort of jerks them back awake, or they hit the table, that wakes them up and they go back. But that process of going in and out is what the nod is. And the last one is usually when they go unconscious, right? But that process, it usually doesn't start that way. They definitely look like they're nodding. You see the head go down, and then they snap it back up. West Coast Fancy Nancy says, I'm asking in all honesty, what can the government do? I want to educate myself. It's not a snarky question. No, I believe you. I don't think you're being disingenuous, and I think it's a great question. Sadly, here's the answer I'm going to give you. Sadly, nobody cares. The people who are in office today are terrified to do anything that's going to give their opponent a win. So the Republicans don't want to give the Democrats a win. The Democrats don't want to give the Republicans a win. And while both of them argue, 300 people a day are dying. What we could do is we could clamp down the border. We could clamp down the border. Right now, they schedule what time they're going to illegally cross, right? They bombard one border section, right, with 70 people. Now they got to go grab those people, bring them in, right, process them. While that's happening, the next group walks across the border wearing backpacks with fent pills in them, right? You have any idea what a backpack that tall, how many fent pills you can put in a military backpack? I promise you, enough money where you never have to work again. You can put a lot of pills in a backpack like that, a terrifying number of them. But we're not trying to stop the flow of drugs coming in. What we could do is do what both parties agreed on back when they weren't concerned about giving the other party a win. When Barack Obama was in office, he said that we needed a wall built. Everybody agreed. We were in the process of building it. It changed. The people who voted for it then voted against it because they hated the guy that was in office. And go ahead and hate him. I don't care. But what we were doing down there was stopping the flow of drugs. I have people that email me all the time and they'll say, the last administration did nothing. You know what? The last administration was stopping the flow of drugs. We watched a dip. The dip is gone. We're smoking back up onto the other side really quickly, right? We really are. The other thing is this. We have $30 billion or something that has been set aside in the last couple of bills to fight the opioid epidemic. No one's doing anything with it. It's sitting there because governments are real good at saying we'll throw some money out. What they're not good at is doing something with that money to actually come up with a plan. And there's two ways you fight drugs, right? You fight the supply side or you fight the demand side. The supply side is people in other countries, right? Whether the drugs are cocaine, whether the drugs are heroin, whatever it is, people in other countries know that if they can get a backpack full of this stuff across an imaginary line, that they can make their family on the other side set for life. They're going to take that risk. And if they get caught, another guy's going to take that risk 6 seconds later. They're never going to stop. I don't blame them. If the shoe was on the other foot, I'd probably be trying to get across that border. Shannon Smith says the border just needs to be closed. Well, that's kind of what we were doing. You know, we were actually building barriers to make it so that it was difficult to get in unless you bottleneck them through places where you can actually look at them and, you know, x-ray and figure out what's going on. The funny thing is, this year we gave unbelievable amounts of money to Mexico to build a wall on their southern border. We gave unbelievable amounts of money to Israel to help build their wall, right? We give money to countries to build walls. They just don't want to do it here because it will give a victory to the other side. And that's friggin' sad because there shouldn't be any sides in this. This isn't, you know, this isn't an issue of politics. This is an issue of drugs killing people. Patrick Griggs, the vast majority of people who use drugs responsibly. It's a fact. Usually not on this channel, but congratulations, Patrick. I think that's great. And I don't have a problem with that. People who are able to snort a little blow and then stop, or, you know, do whatever and then stop. That's fantastic. I don't have that capacity. Once I light that fuse, it's all over but the crying, right? It will stop when they put handcuffs on me. That's what stops me every single time. You know, but depending on who you believe, the numbers are in the 80s. Like 80% of people who use don't have a problem, right? They use drugs and it's just not an issue. They smoke a little pot or they do this or whatever, and it does not affect their life in a negative way. It's never really the issue, right? The issue is always the 3%, right, that are really going to get jacked, because 10% are going to be, they're going to have a difficult time. 10% are going to be, their life is going to be adversely affected by the drugs they're doing. Doesn't mean that they're going to be me. They may not end up in prison. They may not end up, you know, overdosing or doing any of the things that are really sort of out there. But West Coast Fancy Nancy says, people from both parties die of drug overdoses every day. It's a deadly game with these politicians. It makes me sick. Well, and there's no debate for this, right? You can't go, you know, he's full of crap. It's such an easy thing to go and look up. But you can look up every single person from both sides of the aisle who voted for that wall until they just said, oh, no, I don't want to get the other side to win. And then, I mean, 6 weeks later, now we're not doing that. We're voting completely the other way. And not just voting the other way, but coming out and telling the entire world what scumbags we were for even wanting to protect that border. Sorry, not sorry. What do I think of microdosing shrooms? You know what? I don't see a point to it. I don't have a problem with it if somebody wants to do it. In my life, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? The people who do it take really, really small amounts, right? The microdosing concept is that it's more like an antidepressant if you're taking it in that small an amount. I know I have friends that really got into it, really got into to microdosing, and they were making their own stuff. It was penis envy things. You know what? For therapy, Patrick, what I would say is this. All of the literature that I've read about psilocybin being used in therapy, all of the studies that I've seen on this, they're not talking about microdosing. They're talking about getting, it's not a hero dose. They're not talking about giving somebody 14 grams, but maybe an eighth, right? Like a 3.5 gram dose. They're giving somebody, they want them to trip. They don't want them to, to feel a little better. No, they're wanting to, the idea behind using substances like this to treat mental illness, the theory behind this is you're going to break away from the organism, the ego. The ego leaves during the trip. This is the thought process behind this. And when you strip away the ego, man tends to start being far more receptive, right, to other concepts. And so I've never heard of people using microdoses as a way to kind of do therapy. If it's working for people, great. And I'd love to see some studies on it, and not because I doubt anybody, but just because I really dig studies anytime I can. Hold on. That's not good. That might have been a cat problem. Cindy Arnold, good to see you. Glad that you made it. But I'm not against it at all. In fact, I think we got to get a lot better at being far more open and honest about shrooms, about even MDMA or ketamine. Like those right now seem to be the big three that they're using to treat people. Awful lot of luck with ketamine, but ketamine is really open to abuse, which psilocybin tends not to be, because of how most trip drugs work. What's really happening is you're getting wasted on your own brain chemistry, right? But to feel that much, you are releasing so much that your body then has to kind of rebuild the stores back up before they can trip again. And that's why if you're a person that, has played around with those drugs, if you do 4 hits of acid on Monday and you want to get high on Tuesday, you're going to have to do 8 or 9 or 10 hits of acid on Tuesday. You're going to have to go at least double whatever the previous day's dose was. And when I was touring around watching bands, play music and eating acid, I would watch guys who, are trying to trip on their 6th or 7th day, and they're, for all intents and purposes, eating 3/4 of a sheet of acid, not getting anything out of it. Like there's no more chemicals to release. For that reason, I've never been too concerned about people really trying to abuse, hallucinogenics. Trip drugs. I don't see people. It's hard. It's not conducive to abuse because you can't do it every day. Black Boot says chasing the dragon. It's a term usually used for heroin. And lately, probably in the last 2 decades, people started to say that chasing the dragon is literally looking at the puddle. When somebody smokes heroin on tin foil, you get a ball. As soon as the flame hits it, it turns into a liquid. And as that liquid goes across the cooler, because you have hot tin, as it hits the cooler tin behind it, it gases. And that's what you're breathing in. But it leaves like a black trail of snot or whatever behind it, the cut for all intents and purposes. And people will say, and it kind of looks like a dragon, it leaves a little cool tail and whatever. And people have now made that so that it's really only a smoking of heroin kind of thing. But that's not where it came from. It started way before that. And chasing the dragon, it didn't matter how you were doing it, smoking it, shooting it, whatever. It was all the same thing. Meth does that too on foil. It does. You've heard it to mean chasing the original high. Every time I've seen it, Black Boots, every time I've seen it in literature, anytime I've seen it, it has always been in reference to heroin. But it's definitely, it's the nonstop. It's addiction, right? Really, that's what it is. It's a nonstop chase. You never get it. You never chase it down, right? Even if you catch it, the next day you got to start running after it again. I've told the story many times, but I robbed a drug dealer and we got half a pound, 3/4 of a pound of heroin off him. And, you're set, right? You got nothing to worry about. We went through that speed that stuff was gone. Because when it was in front of me, if there were 4 grams in front of me, I did 4 grams. If there were 10 grams in front of me, I did 10 grams. And if there was a half a pound there, I was just going to keep doing it until I nodded out, passed out. And then when I woke up the next day, I'd start again, right? And but But at the end of my addiction, 1,000 grams sounds like a hell of a lot of dope. But if you're doing 6 or 7 grams a day, right? 1,000 grams ain't that much, right? A kilo is not a lot of dope. You'll definitely burn through that in a year easily. And that's without getting anybody else high. Just doing your own dope, you'll do a kilo in a year. It's really an ugly drug. I had a prodigious liver. What's crazy is my liver is in good shape. The doctors will tell you that the morphine molecule is not tough on the body. It's all of the crap that we do while we're junkies or while we're addicts. That's what really screws up your body. Staying out, in the streets and shooting with dirty needles and doing all of those stupid things, But as far as drugs go, because of the mu receptor in our body, we are really designed pretty nicely to take opiates into our body. I mean, we're built for it. Sadly, we really are. Mother's liver was fine. It was her pancreas is what failed. Info dump truck. That's you hear that a lot. You hear that a lot, where people's, for whatever reason, their livers are great and they can't seem to damage them, but in the process, they will completely blow up their pancreas. The Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, he did that, blew up his pancreas. He has to go on dialysis every 5 hours for the rest of his life. And after you read his book, it's horrifying. He started off, he kept switching from one type of alcohol to the next. And when you read the amounts that he was consuming, you go, there's no way this is real, right? There's no way this is real. But I've seen it backed up in a lot of places, like 4 cases of beer or 12 bottles of wine, 2/5. Right? You have to wonder about the original receptor. It must have been put there for a reason. Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you? Maggot says, hey, Tommy and everyone on the boat. Life has been kicking. Let's see here. Life has been kicking me in the behind for a while, so I haven't been around. But I miss the support, the community, and the camaraderie. So I just wanted to say hi. You know what? Here's the really great thing. This is one of the few fraternities where you can walk away, go do what you do, right? You can walk away going, F you guys. I don't need you. I can do this on my own. We hear it all the time. All the time. And when you come back, no one's ever going to go, told you. We knew you'd be back. We don't do any of that crap. We all did this. Everybody got to a point where we went, you know what? You don't think this consciously. You think it subconsciously, but I promise you this is what happened. I have not done enough dope yet. Not there yet. Probably need to do 4 or 5 more ounces, but I would keep doing it. Just haven't done enough yet. I went to prison, got out, started shooting it again. I had not done enough. That just continued for decades. The very last time, when I went in the last time, I had enough. I don't need any more of it. Yeah. After what the civilized world did to China with opium, I can't blame them for sending us fentanyl. Yeah, well, we didn't do them any real good with the opium. What we did to them in the opium wars, to be sure, we were low lives, to be sure. But I think I can still blame them. Honestly, I think I can still blame them. There's something so foul about knowing that your product, they love calling it a product too. Because it doesn't sound nasty if you say it's a product. Well, I'm moving product. You're moving drugs, right? You're moving deadly drugs. You're moving drugs that kill people. It ain't a product. It's drugs. It's dangerous drugs that kill people. And if you know that what you're manufacturing is killing 300 people a day, this isn't about selling dope. What they're doing right now is attacking us. This is the first wave of their attack. And if you're not smart enough to see that, God bless you. But I promise you that's what they're doing. Look at the age group. This is the number 1 cause of death from what? From 18 to 50. Okay. If you need everybody to come to your defense at once, you're looking for 18 to 50. That's your soldier's age right there. People don't need feet outside of a medical room. You know what else? Currently, we're letting the people coming across the border are all what? Military-aged men from other countries. We're idiots. Yeah, we're calling all of the people out and we're letting them in at the same time, right? We're dropping dead and we're allowing them in as fast as we can. This is new age warfare. Space Jeezy is right. That's exactly what this is. This is new age warfare. And it's genius. It's genius. But sadly, and our Defense Department right now is very seriously working on to inoculate people against opioids so that our soldiers will not die if they come in contact with opiates. Now, I'll tell you something. Opioids, I've talked about this many times on the lifeboat. An opiate will only get as strong as the plant that you harvested the sap from, right? You can't manipulate the dope to make it stronger than the plant. So if the plant's potential is an 86, that's what you're going to get. You can't turn an 86 into a 172. You can't. However, if it's a synthetic and you didn't start with a poppy, you can just keep taking it and doubling it and doubling it and doubling it and doubling it until you end up with a substance called carfentanil, which will knock out an elephant, literally, right? It will take down thousands of pounds of pachyderm. And you'll hear people say that, they're selling it on our street. They're not. I promise you they're not. You can't, there's no way to take carfentanil and make it so that a human being could do it. It would kill you no matter what you did to it, no matter how you ingested it, honestly, you can die from touching that. That's the stuff that you hear, the rumors where they say, all you got to do is come in contact with it and it will kill you. That's not regular fentanyl. Remember yesterday when I was talking about being honest with our kids? See, we sit our kids down and we say, if you touch fentanyl, it's going to kill you. You show them some clips on the internet. It says it. If you touch fentanyl, then they go to a party and a guy pulls out a bag this big full of Perk 30 pills. What do you got in there? Fentanyl. You're kidding me. Man, you can die touching that stuff. Dude reaches in, picks up a handful, right? Laughs. No, dude, you ain't dying from touching it. They're lying to you. It's so damn important that when you talk to kids, you tell them the truth and then trust that they're going to make good decisions. Because if you think the right plan is to make it sound worse, you don't need to make opiates sound any worse than they are. But if you lose credibility, if your kid thinks you lied to them, then you really honestly have put them at a level of risk you can't imagine. Your kid right now really needs you and really needs to believe in you. Yeah, the fentanyl and the cheap toxic knockoff products are the weapons, not the immigrants. Absolutely. We need the population support anyway. And that and TikTok. You mean, are you saying that TikTok is a weapon, or are you? I'm lost with what you're saying on that one, Info Dumb Truck. I can't tell whether you hate him or like him on that. Oh, it's a weapon. There you go. It is a weapon. It absolutely is a weapon. Now you can say that the weapons are the drugs, not the immigrants. I mean, that might be the case, but we're averaging what, 150, people from China each week coming across. If you've been doing that for 3 years, you got an army, for real. And trust me, they think in terms of 1,000 years. We think in terms of 4, right? Every 4 years, everything changes. We get a new president. He undoes everything the last president did. We get another one. He turns everything back. I mean, the world's got to be laughing their asses off watching this. They really do. They got to be laughing. It's pretty ugly. It's pretty ugly. But we're not going to beat it on the supply side. We're not. But we might be able to beat it on the demand side. I mean, not today. That's something that's 3 or 4 generations out. Honestly, we got to start educating our kids about drugs now, and we have to continue to do that. And what is happening, it's crazy, but if you go into inner cities, you go into the hood, right? And 8-year-old kids, you'll hear them talking and they'll say so-and-so, oh no, that dude's a junkie. Like they know already that that dude does dope. The people who live in that environment see that. When you watch needle people walking around, right, scratching their arms, trying to bum money from everybody, and you hear everybody talking about how if he comes around, be careful because they'll steal from you because he's addicted to that. Watching that has an effect on people. It really does. You know, the first time someone goes, hey, man, we're breaking out some heroin. Are you kidding? No way, man. I watch guys in my neighborhood on that crap. Ain't no way I would do that, right? There's no way. This is what's happening in places where they're legalizing everything, right? In countries that are saying we're decriminalizing virtually every drug or we're legalizing every drug, that's what happens. All of a sudden, people can do dope out in the open. No one's hiding anything anymore at all, right? Everybody's just out there doing what they're doing. And in the process of doing that, we start seeing what these drugs do to people. I mean, let's be really honest. Unless you're in the drug game, you probably haven't watched somebody shoot heroin before, right? Not very likely. Unless you're deep in the game, you're probably not going to be at a party where somebody takes out their works and cooks one up. That would be odd. But it does have an effect when you watch somebody do it. And very often that effect is to make people sick. You know, people not wanting even to think about it, you know, like, oh, no, never do that. What age should you start talking to kids? Well, they're saying now that the first exposure to drugs is now happening between 10 and 12. So I would say that at about 10 or 11, it's a decent time to start talking to your kids about drugs. And I don't think you have to give them the talk where I'm going to explain to you the chemical makeup of marijuana, you know, delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol. If you just say, listen, there are going to be people who are going to try to bring drugs into your life, and then show them people for real. Show them people. Hey, you know your uncle so-and-so? Yeah, that's what he does. He lives in grandma's basement because he's addicted to that stuff. And those life lessons, it's amazing because the places that make the dope legal, they see an instant spike, right, in drug use because people, screw it. If I can't get in any trouble, there's a segment of that society that goes, now that I can't get in trouble for it, why not? And you see a slight spike in drug use. And it lasts about a generation, about 7 years. But as the next generation is starting to come up, the exact opposite happens. They watched people on this dope, on the newly legal dope, and they learned. They learned by watching, for real. And that's why, like our friend said earlier, I use drugs responsibly. Yeah, about 80% of the population does. But it's the 20% you got to worry about, right? That's really where the rubber meets the road, right? Ray, you absolutely can do it, brother. The grandsons watched me kick alcohol and cigarettes and remain. It was hard and it felt long. You know what, Darcy? But could you think of anything better? For real. For the grandsons to see you beat it, that's a great life lesson, isn't it? I mean it. That is a great life lesson. I grew up next to the Netherlands and weed was almost boring because it was easy enough to get and your parents probably smoked it at some point too. Don't make them more interesting. Yeah, this is a stone cold fact. It is what there's a great documentary on Amsterdam, and that's what the guy says. You know, they're talking to somebody in government, and he said, "What we have been successful in doing is making weed uncool. It's just not cool anymore. It's not that forbidden thing with a bunch of nicknames and everybody, everybody's kind of, it's that." Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You remember we were in our own little club, right? We had our own little language. It was cool. We were the burnouts, right? We were the burnouts. But it's, if you make it uncool, if you take away the clubhouse, if you take away the secret handshake, if you take away the cool other language, right? If you hear your parents going, "Hey, hon, stop by the dispensary and get me some OG Kush and some White Widow, 3 or 4 grams of each." Well, that ain't real cool if mom and dad are doing it, right? Um, honestly, I had a friend who told her kids at a very early age that she's an addict and that they more than likely are susceptible to being addicts also. She thought it was important for them to know. Our kids knew. Our kids knew at a very young age, and we're batting 500, right? Spanky experimented and got addicted. His sister did not, but that's right. That's about right. That's usually how it works. Sometimes both, but um, and Spanky is working really hard on being the best Calhoun he can be, which makes me very very happy. I was in sixth grade middle school and we had a substitute teacher, Ted Getz. He was rolling joints in the back of class. I went home, told my parents, they didn't believe me. Wow. 2 years later, it's me. Yep. No, you know what, Kristen and Melinda? I know other people whose the first drug that they tried was blow. That was a drug that ended up in the places that Coke ended up made it seem like a cool drug. A lot of people did it for that reason. You know what I mean? It was a weird time. $100 a gram, just stupidity. Shannon Smith, thank you very much. I can't begin to tell you how proud I am of my son. I can't. It leaves me speechless on a daily basis. It really does. I could not be any prouder of him. Nothing wrong with Skittles. Hey, that's actually sugar is your best friend when you're coming off of anything. That first 72 hours, right? Sugar is your best friend. Yeah, Spanx is a cool dude, and I hate everyone. Info dump truck, I get that. I really do. Frank Humphreys, is it feasible to run an information campaign at the street level that convinces people that the drugs are not safe to use? Um, sadly, I think at this point, um, we're falling into two separate camps, right? You have people who are like me, right? They've been addicted to dope for a long period of time. They have to score every single day and shoot it, right? Those people are way less likely to overdose than anyone else. They didn't become a 30-year heroin addict by doing stupid things, right? They always tried it a little bit different, as a smaller amount to make sure that they were safe. Um, it was, it was a thing. Then the other part, sadly, is now people who are buying these perk 30s, and it's the first time they're doing a pill. That's sad, but true. Fentanyl is now becoming a drug that people ask for by names and abuse. And we have a lot of young kids that are using this drug recreationally. It's a terrible word for it, but they're using fentanyl on a daily basis. And these are the people that, unfortunately are overdosing every day. That's what we taught in harm reduction. Taste your shot. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, as you probably can figure out, they fight that because more than likely, right, they came up with $10, right? They got a point. They got 1/10 of a gram, right? 1 point. And they're going to throw that in the spoon and cook it up. And you want them to not shoot the entire shot, right? You want them to do a smaller amount of it first. And they're going, then I'm not going to get that punch. And unfortunately, people overdose. That's pretty sad. One nifty thing, naloxone was prominently displayed out on the counter at my local pharmacy. Super easy to access. Yeah, that's beautiful. Teresa says, the only drug ad campaign I've ever known was just say no. And it was just so horrible and ridiculous. You know what? You're right. It was horrible and ridiculous. The biggest threat facing your kid in the world, and you give it 3 syllables. Yeah, no problem. It was just as easy as saying no, right? There wouldn't be a lifeboat, wouldn't be a Tommy Scoville, right? There wouldn't be a need for any of this. But Teresa, I want to refresh your memory and say that that's not the only drug ad that you can remember. You ready? Do you happen to remember one where a guy was walking in circles? He had a little cocaine bullet in his hand, and he did a little bump, and he goes, "I do coke so I can make more, so I can work harder, so I can make more money, so I can buy more coke." And he just keeps, and it gets faster and faster and faster, right? That was a ad campaign that had some traction there in the 80s. There was another one that came out that showed a woman in her kitchen with a toothbrush scrubbing grout, and the song in the background says, "I don't eat, I don't sleep, but I got the cleanest house on the street, crystal meth." That was the commercial. That was a good one. And as Don Gloves, I was waiting for someone to say this. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? Okay, that was probably the biggest of all of them. You never saw the cocaine or the meth ads somehow. Wow, that's crazy. Did you see the one with the egg? That was the bigger one. That's the this is your brain on drugs. They ran the crap out of that. They really did. They ran the crap out of that. Everything that I saw on network, ABC, NBC, CBS, because at that time in my life, we did not get any kind of cable. That came when we bought a satellite dish a few years later. That was such a well-known ad. But I was like, yes, questions. I have tons of questions. Come back. Yeah, you know what? I love that, Kristen Melinda, because that's really where most kids are. They are fascinated by drugs. They are. How can you not be? When you hear what drugs do as a kid, they're fascinating. So you put this thing in your body and then you just feel completely different and weird. Oh yeah, that appeals to people the first time they hear it. I promise you. Crazy as it is, find it real appealing, right? Really, really appealing. But because that's fascinating to them, they will sit down and ask you questions for as long as you will answer it. Yeah. We used to laugh at the fried egg commercial. Yeah. And then they Saturday Night Live did the parody of it where it said the eggs go in. It says, "This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. This is your brain on drugs," with a side order of hash browns and two pieces of 2 links of sausage. That's funny. That's really funny. On the egg drug commercials, I remember those, and they literally did nothing to keep me from trying drugs. No, of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. Uh, Curiosity is a bitch. Yeah, that's what got me too. That's what got me too. Um, yeah, you know what? The first time I tried weed, I didn't try it for any of the reasons. I tried it because the two dudes that invited me thought they were really like the coolest people on earth. And I just couldn't believe I was getting invited to hang out with these people. So I kind of went with it because I thought, I really kind of want to be invited into this. So I went and I smoked, and yeah. But what it did to me was it made me feel less weird, made me feel comfortable in my own skin. Yeah, don't try to scare children amateurly. Only makes it more interesting. If you try to scare kids, if you try to paint a picture for kids that isn't real, I have a promise for you. They're going to. It's going to bite you. It's going to bite you in the ass. Your kids are going to go out there and they're going to use because they're going to think you're full of crap. And if you lose credibility with them, you're done. Rachel F says, "I was like, challenge accepted. I know that sounds bad, but it's true." No, I get it. I get it. I really, once I tried the first drug, I knew I wanted to try every other drug on earth. Now, I don't know if subconsciously I was looking for a treatment for what's wrong with me. I was looking for the perfect drug to make me feel really comfortable in my own skin. La Poubelle, the scummiest piece of crap restaurant in all of Los Angeles. Sorry, every time I see that name. Yeah, that's exactly where Danny did that. And the people that own that dump make it very easy for people in the cult to do things that should never be allowed to happen. Um, yes, women is better, but yeah, um, that's yeah, it's a shit restaurant. It really is. They're bad people. Bad people. Sorry, not sorry. All right, people. Um, I am. Let's see. Tomorrow is Saturday, and I am going to be. I'm going to be going live at some point tomorrow, but I'm going to try to take a little bit of time off and go see my friend that is having problems. Yes, I've heard this term. I grew up in the Mormon church. We have a term for that, bishop's daughters. Pretty much the more scared and suppressed kids are, the more likely they are to go wild. There's a lot of truth to that. There is a lot of truth to that. All right. This is a cat in the basket. Hey, Lucinda, good to see you. See that? Squirrel nut zipper in a basket. Really, really being a good cat. So I'm going to, tomorrow, I'll throw up one video tomorrow probably. Spanky will be doing his shows. And then on Sunday, I'm doing a relay boat to announce the next state I'm going to be going to with Reese Quibble. So I will see all of you tomorrow, and journal for God's sakes, right? Before you go to bed tonight, journal. When you get up tomorrow morning, journal. Don't stick your toe in, right? You want to live a better life, jump in. Both feet. Don't stick your toe in. All right. I'm the Admiral. I'll see you on the next one. What are you doing, squirrel?